Hey guys, welcome back to Content, a podcast for local creatives. Thanks so much for being here. Super excited for this episode today with Soupsox. Welcome to the podcast.
Great, thanks for having me.
Super excited for this episode. You were actually one of the first people to fill out my survey on Google a while back. It took me a while to reach back out just because I don't know, just like editing and getting other episodes and stuff in, but always super grateful for people reaching out to me and wanting to be on. So super excited for this episode today.
Dude, me too. It's a great idea. Love to be a part of it.
I kind of just want to start today just kind of getting to know you a little bit better and like your creative journey, more specifically in like painting and illustration, and how you kind of got to where you're at today. So I guess let's just start there. Like, where would you say your creative and artistic journey really begins?
Dude, well, I've been doing art like ever since I could write or draw, really. Ever since like 4 or 5 years old, just drawing, especially faces. I remember doing like animals, like sharks. I used to live in Hawaii growing up.
Nice.
And I remember I drew a shark one time, put like a man's face on it because that's what I thought sharks looked like. Just like faces. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
My parents were like, that's not great. It's good.
It evoked an emotion.
Yeah, exactly. So just drawing has like always been a big thing for me, like a pretty consistent. My dad was in the military, so I grew up moving all over, but like art was always a consistent, like drew all the time. Even on airplanes, moving and the road trips to move. But then in high school, actually middle school, started doing like a advanced art program.
Cool.
That was cool. And then art classes in high school. Eventually was doing a digital media class, like a concurrent class in high school. And that got me introduced to like the digital mediums of art and stuff. So just doing that. And then painting kind of slipped in between. Painting shoes. Sneakers was first. Painting sneakers was first. And then canvases after that. But
yeah, that's super cool. So you're kind of like a jack of all trades. You just like making stuff.
Yeah. Definitely master of none. But
yeah, that's super cool. Would you say like kind of like starting off, there were any like big inspirations? Like, would you say because you're moving so much, like the environment influenced what you did and like how you got started?
Dude, maybe it's just like being unique is so big for me. Just making sure I'm different and unique. I think that's why I started painting shoes.
Yeah.
But at first it was because I saw someone else do it and I was like, dude, I could do that so much better. And I really wanted to. And maybe I did. I don't know. Maybe that's cocky. I don't know. But I've kept doing that because I want to have things that are more me. Want to stand out a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll say it.
No, 100%. I feel like that's like the way most creatives view the world is like you see something cool and you're like, I want to give a go at it. Like, let's see what I can do. And like, how do I like take my experiences or things that I've, learned throughout my life and apply it and make something mine and make it cool. So I think that's super sick.
Yeah, it's more like representation of yourself, like you can rep brands all day, but like, why not rep yourself,
Yeah, no, 100%. Let me think where I want to take the next question. I just like batch spam a bunch of questions and then I get here and I'm like, okay, where do I want to take it? I guess like what role is like creativity, art played in your life up until this point?
Dude, I guess I'm still trying to figure that out, trying to figure out what role like creation has in my life. But I feel like definitely I like to make it more of a pretty spiritual process, kind of make sure I'm really wrapped into it. Not that it's something I'm like half efforting, but really committing to it. Like to kind of be in tune with myself and like what I need to be creating there. But yeah, I think I definitely am kind of a feast or famine kind of guy too, where I'll kind of bust out a lot of stuff and then not do anything for months and then just repeat that cycle just because I kind of lack in other areas of my life, like social or
Yeah.
physical, and then decide I want to bump out creatives for a while and then kick that in. But still trying to figure out the balance,
Yeah.
That's the
No, I totally agree. And I feel like that's just the nature of, anything. Like you put a lot of effort into something and you just naturally get burnt out. Like you only can do so much. And like you mentioned, like there's other facets of our lives that like are important and like we want to make sure we're like pouring time and effort into. Another interesting thing that, I feel like I run into a lot of the people that I'm talking to, interviewing and having conversations with, we haven't made it. Like we all have these like creative juices, but a lot of the kids are younger, college kids, they're working other jobs, whether in their field or not. And I feel like it's definitely like a challenge and like trying to find that balance of how do I live like a joyful, meaningful life at this stage of life while still diving into, my creative outlet and making time for that. How have you been able to go about that? Like, do you feel like you've been able to find a good balance of like finding time to like approach your creative journey?
Yeah, I feel like just locking in, and kind of just saying like I'm not like I'm gonna stay up and do this till 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Like I like don't care. Like if this is all I have is just a couple hours at night, like just do that. And I think some of my favorite times of creating were like get home from doing whatever I need to do, wind down from school or work,
Yeah.
just get home, and it'd be like on the weekend, like a Friday or Saturday night, and it'd be like midnight or 1 a.m. and just be like, okay, I'm gonna paint for 4 hours and just paint for 4 hours in the middle of the night and just kind of just do it and kind of just get lost in the sauce a bit.
Yeah.
That's been my favorite parts and definitely the most fulfilling times I've done art, because
Yeah.
like I do commissions and stuff every now and then. It is so like it's so hard to do it.
Yeah.
It's so hard to like find the want to do it.
Yeah.
But when it's more of like you're deciding actively and being intentional about it, I think
Mhm.
where like the fulfillment comes in, because you're like, oh, I'm deciding this because I want to do it, not because I'm getting paid to, not
Yeah.
because I need to hit a quota. But
I think that's interesting because like I feel like there's like two sides of the coin. Like I had a guy on, he's like an author the other day, and he posts 3 times a day on Instagram, like 3 reels, which for me is like insane to think about. Like I'm pumping out 3 a week on a good week.
Yeah.
But he is just like, this is the standard I've set. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna let myself like veer away from it. And then I feel like for me, when I'm like making stuff, it's like, I didn't plan on spending 6 hours today editing this video or like whatever it is that I'm doing. It's just like I ended up, dipping my toes in the water and then ended up swimming for hours just because like I feel like once I get started, I hit that flow state and I don't even know how much time is passing. Like I'm just going. And it sounds like you kind of have like a mix. Like you're like, okay, like I'm going to sit down, I'm going to dedicate this time. And then you kind of hit that flow state and then are able to just get a bunch of stuff done.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes you got to force yourself. I got to force myself sometimes. Otherwise I'll never do it. Like I have projects I've been sitting on for months. Like it's been like 7 months. I've had a pair of shoes sitting on my desk, like half painted, but
100%. So how do commissions work for you? Like, do you feel like it's typically like friends and family that are like reaching out to you? Do you like market yourself and trying to find commissions, or how does that kind of work for you?
Yeah, it's definitely friends or family, or just people like, oh, do you still do this? Like I would love a painting. And I always say yes. And I feel like I always kind of lowball how much I should be charging. But I'm also I have terrible customer service. So like, there's this one guy I follow. He paints wrestling shoes.
Cool.
I remember a couple years ago, he does amazing, incredible work. Like college athletes, Olympians.
Yeah.
They wear his stuff, but he has horrible customer service. And he says that too. He's like, you know what? You'll get the best quality stuff, but you won't hear from me for months. Like I'm terrible. And
yeah.
Which kind of makes me feel a little bit better. Not great, but a little bit better.
Yeah. I think that's super funny. And I feel like honestly, there's like a power in just like for you, like being the painting guy, or for me, like being the podcast guy. Like the fact that like you're able to embrace something that you're passionate about, like people eventually catch wind, I feel like. And I feel like that's just talking to people that like have been successful, like obviously have done a lot of things, like worked really hard and like done their due diligence. But like a lot of times doors open just because like you're consistent at something long enough and people catch wind and they're just like, yeah, like
Yeah,
this guy, like
absolutely.
he's the podcast guy. People just naturally, because of that, and like I've owned it for the past couple of months, like now I'm getting people reaching out like, dude, when are you getting me on the podcast? Like I want to be on your podcast, stuff like that. So I feel like there really is a power in just like owning what you do and like word gets around.
Dude, absolutely. Yeah, I think like consistency, and I think good art is like the best. Like
Yeah.
good art markets itself, you know?
It's true.
And good creativity markets itself.
100%. So tell me a little bit about like your style and like how you kind of came to it and why you've kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, I think I like served a mission, you know, came home, was in school, hated it. Like I've like dropped out of college twice.
Yeah.
So like, which, I don't know, maybe that's more impressive than a degree. Who's to say? But like the first semester I did it was not feeling it. Like having such a hard time.
Yeah.
Like lived at home. That was kind of hard because going from not living at home to living at home,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a weird transition. And then having to worry about life again, work and school, and like I hated school.
Yeah.
Had such a hard time with it, and just like really just one time just like started painting just like faces, just like feelings, kind of like anger. It's pretty emotional looking,
Mm-hmm.
pretty kind of scary looking. I think since it's kind of refined itself to not so disturbing looking,
Yeah.
but still kind of maintained like a formula of like what a face would be by me. And since then that's kind of adapted into figure and form, showing more than just a face and a head, but like the whole body. And they all kind of represent emotion, kind of represent like a spirituality or a lesson. I like to think of my paintings as a journal entry.
Cool.
It's like each one will have a specific meaning to it. And colors always have a meaning to it. I think yellow represents like fate or deity, and just what that represents in that painting. But
yeah, that's super cool. I think that's super sick. Let me think where I want to go next. Sorry.
no worries.
Okay. Can you walk me through like your creative process? Like you go from like concepting the idea to executing it to then promoting it, like A to Z. How do you kind of go about that whole process?
Yeah, I guess definitely all for experimentation for sure. And
Yeah.
especially the marketing side of things. Like, how many times do I want to post about this? How many, if at all, do I want to post about it? Like for example, my last couple pieces. Well, actually, it's typically when I paint, I like to just get a blob of color on there, kind of just build kind of a shape, but then take like black paint after white paint, and then do the actual face like around. Try to find the face in the blob.
Yeah.
And typically do that with the shapes too. Like I'm horrible at planning paintings and like where I want things to be. Like I'll do the general idea, but hard for me to trace and try to get something specific like that down. And then do that, and then try and articulate more detail if I feel like, wow, this is great, but it needs more kind of texture to it, more grit, something to make it pop out. And then marketing, this last painting I posted on, it's called Catch, and I submitted that to an art competition about a month or so ago, and then found out a couple weeks ago it didn't make it, but I posted it that same weekend. I found that out.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone hit me up like immediately. It was like, hey, I'll buy this like right now.
Really?
And like I've never like really had it happen like that. It's always kind of been kind of more of a hustle on my part, more like, hey, someone buy this please, you know?
Yeah.
But it kind of just hit me up and said, boom, I'll buy this. I was like, great, perfect. Like
That's
I
so awesome.
wasn't going to sell it because it was in a competition, but take it. And so, and I only posted once about that. I posted once about it 2 or 3 months after it was finished. So
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So how do you feel like most of your stuff is like sold, and like how does that normally come to be? Like, how do you find people to buy your work?
Yeah. I don't know if you find out. No, not a lot is sold. It's definitely if someone buys something, it's either commissioned or I give it to them.
Gotcha.
Like, and that's another thing is I've been trying to find the balance of selling things. I think it took me a long time to be willing to part with my paintings.
Really?
Kind of just feeling like there's a lot of my soul put into it. And I was like, I don't know if I want to sell this. Like, I don't know if I want to like put in the work to it. But definitely as of recently, I've been more open to just like, I don't even care. Just take it. Like,
Yeah.
I have no room in my house. Like, take my paintings. But
Yeah, no, 100%. And are you typically doing like multiple paintings at once, or is it like,
yeah,
I'm just
for
dialed
sure.
into one at a time?
Yeah, definitely have a bunch going on all at the same time.
Really?
Sometimes things will take the priority and I'll be like, I'm way more down for this right now.
Interesting.
Kind of forget that entirely. And then,
So like, how long are you like working on like start to finish a painting? Does it take like weeks, months, days, hours?
dude, it's all like time management, I guess. And like how much I really like something. If I really like something, I'll crank it out
Yeah.
like in one night or a couple nights. Like that one that just sold, that took me, dude, I didn't even know in total, maybe like 8 hours tops, but over the course of 2 days or so.
Yeah.
Which was like pretty quick. Typically it takes me way longer than that. Like I mentioned, I had a pair of these pair of shoes. I bought these shoes last May from Nike because Nike has like this sale around the springtime.
Right.
So I bought those, and that was last May, and I didn't start them till like January, like start painting them. And they're
Gotcha.
still not finished. It's July, so
Yeah.
they're just chilling on my desk.
Let's go.
But yeah, sometimes it's just way harder. Painting shoes is so hard.
Yeah.
And that's like what I started on, but it's so much harder than normal canvas.
Just because of like the edges and
Yeah, you
shape of
gotta
it and everything.
prep it. You gotta deglaze it. You've gotta do a lot more technicalities. Paint smaller. You gotta paint way smaller. But
what actually, like, what materials do you need? I'm curious because, like, at least me personally, I'd love to like paint shoes. I don't have any idea how to even get started on that to like protect the stuff and everything. But
yeah, so like Angela's,
okay,
I think they started out as a shoe polish company.
Gotcha.
But now I think the majority of their stuff is painting, like shoe paints. And so you deglaze it with acetone, which is just like nail polish remover.
Gotcha.
And because leather shoes has a like factory finish on it, so that way the leather won't chip and crack and stuff. So you just want to take that off, do a couple passes with that, and then you get the leather paint, and it's just normal acrylic paint, but super flexible.
Gotcha.
And then you just put a finisher over it, and then ideally last for a while. Like if you do canvas, like Vans, last forever.
Really?
Leather is a little harder, but maybe I just suck at painting leather, but canvas will last forever.
Yeah, no, my buddy did like the shoe painting thing in high school and like actually made a ton of money off of it just because like all of us in high school were like just throwing money at him to just like paint more shoes. So I honestly think it's super sick. Like I feel like just looking through kind of your stuff, we share the same idea that like personalizing clothing is a super cool thing. Yeah. I don't have like the skill set right now. Like I haven't like really dove into like doing it myself. But whenever I see someone that's like customized their own clothing, I'm just like, yeah,
so
like,
sick.
That's sick.
Yeah, I spend hours watching like those airbrushing videos.
Yeah, dude.
Shirts. They're so
cool. Or
cool.
like when people like I don't even know what it's called, just like sew in their own clothing, like little designs on like their jeans or something like that.
Oh
like,
yeah,
little flowers or something. I'm like, this is good.
So cool. Yeah, I think that on the occasion, like, man, I'd love to sew, but it's too much work.
No, it's true. So how did you come up with the name Soupsox?
Dude, so in high school, I just tweeted one time. I don't know. I thought I was funny. I said, "Get your socks out of my soup," and I thought it was so funny. It's not that funny. And I was just Soupsox. That's crazy. Like that's 7 letters. that's kind of a free domain
Yeah.
everywhere. Soupsox. So I just hopped on that.
Have you ever thought about making socks?
Yeah, I've like thought about doing everything but socks, like just for the irony of soup socks. But
Just a
no
whole
socks.
fit besides the socks.
Yeah.
That'd be lit, actually. Have like a model with all your clothes and no socks on, just like straight shoes.
Yeah.
That's funny. Shoot, I'm totally blanking on what I was gonna ask you next. I'm sorry. Let's just go to this. So looking through your Instagram, I saw that you like challenge yourself to do like a 30-day challenge, right? Of just like making paintings and then posting about it.
Yeah.
What was kind of like the inspiration for that in the first place?
Yeah. So it was something I was teasing about for a bit. Like I had a painting or two that I really liked. I was like, I really want to do this, just have this cranked out, and then just post every day for a month and just see how that helps my engagement.
Yeah.
And so I had I had like one or two, and then I had a girlfriend at the time and we broke up. So I was super, that was pretty emo. And so like that weekend we broke up, I like stayed in and painted like 8 paintings.
That's
like,
crazy.
which is insane. Like one takes forever,
Yeah.
but given how small they were and they were just on paper, like a nicer paper.
Of course.
I'm a Minnesotan. But like did that and then just started posting and then tried to be caught up, but just didn't, and ended up just doing a painting a day, like actually painting every single day and then posting it.
Yeah.
Which was pretty insane.
Yeah, it
Like,
is.
it was like a lot of work. And then to like make a video and post it same day. There's not much editing, but still kind of
It's
a
lot
pain.
though.
Oh,
It's a
for sure. But yeah, it was just kind of just what I was feeling every day in the process of like post breakup.
Yeah.
Or post, in that phase of my life. And just kind of emotions. I think kind of made me think a little too much about how I was feeling.
Yeah.
I was just like really focused on what am I feeling right now for this painting. And I just think feelings don't really work like that. I think feelings are supposed to be fleeting or not fleeting, but
that makes sense. So what was like a big takeaway, would you say, from that experience?
I think kind of just taking things as they come. And that could be not even like a day by day or a month by month, but like moment by moment.
Yeah.
Like right this instant, I'm feeling kind of anxious. And then the next moment, if you're not feeling anxious, like let that go. Just don't be anxious. Just kind of just feel what you're supposed to feel in that moment.
Yeah, 100%. And like, what did you learn about like engagement? Like, did you feel like it helped your like social media presence and stuff like that, and like getting your name out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it definitely boosted my stuff because I was not posting twice a day for a month before that. So I think kind of just by nature, like had more engagement just because I was posting way more.
Yeah.
But I think after that, definitely had people like in job interviews, even like
really
people like, oh, how do I know? Who are you? Soupsox? Like Soupsox, that's how I know. It was kind of funny. I don't have a huge following, but it was kind of funny to just people point me out in public and be like, oh, you're Soupsox. I know. It's kind of a couple times in a row, which is funny. But
that's super cool. Tell me a little bit about like people within the community. Do you feel like there's been like individuals or like organizations that like have been beneficial to you or like are super great at like supporting like illustrators, painters in the community?
Yeah, dude, I feel like that's like the greatest thing as a creative is like collaborating with other creatives. I think that's the greatest thing you can do.
I totally agree.
And like hitting up other artists. Like if you paint, be friends with painters. Like the whole competing and stuff, competition thing. I haven't really like struggled with that. Maybe others really have issues with that, but just be friends with everyone. Musicians, be friends with musicians, kind of get a network going. I feel like one artist, he's super connected. His name's Jairo de Alba.
Okay.
And we're pretty tight. I think we're friends from Instagram. And he's just in the area and we paint a lot. He actually got me going to this place called Public Property.
Okay.
And they are a tattoo shop, like art studio tattoo shop in downtown Provo. And so he totally got me hooked up in there to paint every first Friday for the Provo Art Stroll. And like kind of hooked me up there. and just got me really networked with other artists and stuff in the area. Just cool opportunities, places to put my art, which has been super cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like I see stuff like here and there about the Provo Art Stroll. What exactly is that?
So the first Friday of every month, downtown Provo, and the local businesses there,
Yeah.
they host local artists, musicians. They just have booths sometimes just to show their art. And you can just walk around. It's kind of like a scavenger hunt. Check off which building you've hit, which artists you've seen. You can just walk around downtown. It's super, super cool.
Yeah.
Very giving a lot of exposure, I think, to a lot of artists. But
That's awesome. Yeah, no, just kind of backtrack a little bit on what you said. And this is kind of something that I talked about the other day with just like a local content creator is like creatives, like it's not a dog eat dog world. Like it's like people really just want to see each other win and like they really want to like support each other. Worst case scenario, you DM someone and they don't respond. But like best case scenario, they do and like they want to help. And I feel like that's more often than not. Like people are wanting to like support each other and like help each other and like see each other win, which I think is like really cool. And I wish it wasn't unique to like artists and like creatives, but like I honestly feel like in a lot of ways it unfortunately like is.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I think it can be daunting just to maybe cringe even to like you find an artist on Spotify, you're like, dang, this guy's really good. He could have so many listeners. You still like DM him on Instagram. You're like, dude, I love your stuff. Like, let me make cover art for you.
Yeah.
You know, and like they respond, you know, and then it's super cool, super validating to be like listening to an artist with some friends. You're like, whoa, cool song. And I'm like, yeah, me and this guy are DMing. You know, it's funny.
That's funny. So for like people like in your position, who like are wanting to get their art out there, like you mentioned the art stroll, do you feel like there's other avenues or opportunities to kind of like share your work, collaborate with other people? Like what opportunities do you know of like within the community for that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I think kind of just reaching out to anyone and everyone I think is the best. And that's something I probably need to do better about myself. So maybe I'm giving advice I need to hear, but I think just reaching out to local businesses, and because, you know, if the worst they can say is no, or they don't respond. So I think kind of just trying to look and just being hungry for opportunity, but also being able to do it too. I think making sure it's in your bandwidth to accomplish something. Cause I think that's something I've definitely needed help on. It's like not having all my ducks in a row, but still trying to cross the street.
Yeah.
You know,
no, 100%. And just kind of doing research leading up to today, I saw that you previously were featured in Slug Mag. I didn't know what that was before kind of preparing for today. Can you like explain a little bit like what Slug Mag is and kind of like their mission, stuff like that, and your experience with them?
Yeah, so Salt Lake Underground Magazine is what Slug Mag is, and they just feature Salt Lake centric, like Utah area creatives and artists, musicians, and just local businesses and how they are contributing to the community and inclusion of other communities. And they had an art competition last year, or a t-shirt design competition. Okay. And so that's what I entered. And because I entered, my design was featured on a shirt that
that's so cool.
Put out. Yeah, it was super cool. And then I got an interview with them. And super nice people, genuinely like the sweetest people. And like going in there, it was just like kind of like took me aback a bit because everyone's just so friendly. And I never walked into a business where people are like, "Hey, how's it going?" Super, super awesome people, and honestly, like a great interview experience. And just, even reading the article, I was nervous. I was like, "Oh gosh, what if I said something bad?" I've never really been interviewed before that. Yeah, and then just reading over that, I was so impressed. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me. It's just super sweet. But yeah, and I've met a lot of cool people through Slug Mat and through that opportunity. Like one music group, rap group, boy band, I don't know, Club Mungo.
Okay.
Heard of them?
Haven't heard of them.
Yeah, they're like local to Salt Lake area. Super cool guys. And like because of Slug Mag, I found them, and I think they kind of found me too. And just have a cool relationship. I haven't done anything yet, but kind of just a cool little cool stuff, guys.
Yeah.
Cool stuff, Carter. Cool stuff, Soupsox.
That's dope. Do you feel like you're like consistently looking for like art t-shirt like competitions just to like push your work out there? You just kind of like as it comes, you just throw stuff at it?
Yeah, I'm definitely an as it comes kind of guy.
Yeah.
I think I'm more of a. I was explaining this to my friend the other day, but I feel like there's like different types of opportunity seekers. I think I'm more of like a spider, you know,
Yeah.
something flies into my web, like I'll go to it, but
Yeah.
definitely more of an opportunist, I'd say.
No, that makes sense. Can you tell me like a like memorable interaction or like feedback that you've gotten from like either a close friend, family member, someone that's like interacted with the art that you've made? Does anything come to mind?
Yeah, I made this piece like December, November-ish.
Okay.
And like that was like the first time that my dad was like really like, wow, this is awesome. Like this is really good. Like he's always kind of been like, I don't really get it. Like it's cool you're doing it, but like I don't really understand the faces.
Yeah.
But then I made this one piece where it's a guy like reaching for the sun out of the sun, moon, and stars.
Nice.
And he was like, this is the most amazing thing you've ever made. Like this is incredible. And that was a really cool experience.
Yeah.
With my dad and just hearing
right.
that. But yeah, I really appreciated that experience.
How have you gone about like, do you feel like you receive a lot of like constructive criticism or like people like rating your work? Like how have you like gone about that? Has it been a challenge? Has it not?
Yeah, I think it definitely has been. Like just setting up the art stroll, or even just my friends seeing it and being like, wow, that looks like handsome Squidward. You know, like seeing his face. I hate that. It drives me crazy. But just seeing that and kind of just keeping in mind that like they just are taking it face value most of the time if they're going to make a comment like that.
Yeah.
But like not really like taking a look deeper into it, but then also seeing maybe I should stay away from blue faces. They're gonna think his answer's
Yeah.
Maybe that's something like people can't get past. But yeah,
no, I think that's definitely a challenge, and it's like I think a lot of times people that kind of don't actively pursue like a creative endeavor realize like how much of your personal being goes into something that you're making, and like the emotional connection, like you're like pouring yourself into like the things that you're doing. And it's like also been a challenge for me, and honestly not just for creative things, it's like just like criticism in general, even if it is constructive, it's just like you always want to be praised about the things that you're 100%. Doing. So it definitely has been like a challenge, not like a challenge, but a journey for me, to also get to a point where I can, you know, pour my heart into something and accept like the fact that it's not perfect. Other people might not love it, but it was my expression of something at a specific point in time in my life, and it's like impactful to me for that reason.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at it. And I think I've been trying to figure out how to accept like unsolicited advice from people. Like that's something I've always struggled with. If someone's just, you know what you should do? Every time someone starts a comment with that, I kind of like turn off and just ignore it. But like I'm trying to be better. I'm like, okay, maybe there's some merit to this.
Yeah.
If they really felt the need to say that, maybe there is something I could learn from it. But
100%. Have you ever encountered like an experience of like just like doubt? Like, can I do this? Like, am I built for this? Like, have there been like major roadblocks in your journey, would you say?
Or I think like all the time. I think all the time. I'm like, man, do I even like art? Like, do I even like this? I think I was just driving through a neighborhood the other day and I was like, man, what if I stopped? What if I just stopped doing it? But I feel like it's just so ingrained in me. I don't think I could ever stop, you know? And I think just having such a determination in myself has kind of helped me overpower that. Yeah. Just because I just have like a lot of trust that I could do something great with my art. Maybe I have not much to show for it now. Maybe I'll never have anything to show for it. But even if it helps like one person accomplish anything, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, maybe that's enough for me. Like, oh, I got a job
Yeah.
to not be an artist after seeing your garbage work. Like, I decided art's not for me.
Yeah.
So maybe maybe that's what's to get out of it. But
No, 100%. So what do you do like when you like hit your slumps or like haven't been like painting for a while or whatever, like expressing yourself creatively? Like, what do you do to kind of like get back into it, like motivate yourself again?
yeah, I was kind of thinking about that. I was kind of thinking that actually today that my I feel like when I'm not painting, I feel like it's because things are going really good in other aspects of my life.
Yeah.
And like I just don't have time to paint or I'm just happier.
Yeah.
But when I like really start investing in painting, it's because like I feel like something's missing.
Yeah.
And I kind of go back to this thing that's always been a constant in my life. And I think kind of just relying on that and kind of being therapeutic in some ways, just to get feelings out
Yeah.
out in the world on canvas, paper, shoes.
Yeah.
But
No, I love like how you mentioned how it's like journaling for you. Like I think that's really cool and like a way that I haven't heard it put before, but like just like makes sense in my head.
no, yeah.
Do you feel like other than like kind of like strictly your emotions, there's like other things that kind of feed into your work that's like influential on like what you do and like why you do it, like outside of just specifically painting?
Yeah, I think really if something looks cool, I think that's like important too in art. But also kind of being true to myself. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to do something that isn't true to me. And kind of what you said about that's like a representation of how I felt at that time. And if it's truly how I feel or truly if I think I'm right, I think I'm
Yeah.
then like who am I to judge and say like, oh, that was dumb. But like as long as I'm true to myself, I think that's important in trying to regulate that of like who I want to be, who I am, and who I have been.
Mhm.
Just trying to be, I don't know, understanding of the journey and the process.
Yeah.
And that nothing's ever set. Like nothing's ever lost. And even with painting, like you can always go back and fix them. You can always paint over something.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of what's really motivated my own life is if I make a mistake, I can always try and fix it and try
Yeah.
and mend it with whoever I hurt or myself. You know.
No, for sure. So where like I know like for now like you're working a separate job, you're doing painting like on the side for fun. What is like do you have like an end goal? Like would you want to make this like your full-time gig if possible?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do paintings. Honestly, like designing clothes has always been a huge thing. Like
Yeah.
even skateboard designs and stuff like that. Doing graphics has always been one of the end goals, truthfully. Like have a couple things coming out in the pretty near future that be doing stuff like that, like designs I've been working on for a while to finally put those on clothes and stuff. So
Yeah, that'd be super sick to start your own clothing brand.
yeah, it'd be super. And that's kind of in the balance is like, do I want to make a clothing brand or do I want to do it just under my own name or like how do I want to just navigate that? But
I'm kind of in like a similar position. Cause like I feel like there's some people that they're like, I like photo. I'm gonna do photography. I'm gonna make money off taking photos. And they're like, I'm in this lane, that's what I'm doing.
yeah.
And I feel like the other end of the spectrum is just like the creative, like the what is the word that I want to use? Anyway, it'll come to me, but just like a creative person. Like like I think like Donald Glover, like you task him to do anything creative, act, make music, art, like whatever, it's going to be great. Like he's just a creative guy. He wants to do everything. And like I brainstormed a lot. Like I love the podcast. I love interacting with local creatives. I also like aspire to like have my own clothing brand. I want to like do like freelance or set up my own business around like advertising or videography or like content creation. Like there's just so many different like mediums that like are interesting to me. And like I never at any point want to lock myself in a box of like I'm just this guy. And like something that I've decided is if I want to do all these things, I have to start with one, get it big enough to where I then have like the financial and time freedom to do other stuff.
Yeah.
So like, and that's just what I'm thinking. Like you're like have so many different things that you want to do. Not that my way is the right way. I'm just trying to share like it's my view.
No,
Like,
yeah, absolutely. And I've definitely like kind of looked at it like I'll work a stupid job
Yeah.
till like my side hustle is my main hustle, you know? And
Yeah.
then do like the other side quests. And like what Donald Glover, I think he said in an interview recently, how he just said, like, oh, I never left Childish Gambino, but I just did side quests
Yeah.
in between. I was like, oh, that's like a perfect way to
Yeah.
look at it. Like just doing side quests, but not like abandoning
Yeah.
like yourself or like what you wanted to do originally, but
No.
coming back to I guess he is abandoning it. I guess I read another interview where he said, oh, I'm done with Childish Gambino. But like, you know.
Yeah. He might come back. Who
Maybe.
knows?
He probably will.
After you saying that, I just decided that my new mantra in life is I don't work, I do side quests. I want to have a life full of side quests.
Yeah. Right.
Like-
isn't that like sick?
It's like a perfect way to look at life. I just like, I am going to do everything in my power to avoid a 9 to 5 for the rest of my life. Like side quest is the way to go in my head.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and like I love the idea of like if I want to work till 4 a.m. one night,
Yeah.
like just like start at midnight and work till 4. It's like I would love that
Yeah,
freedom, you know?
100%.
9 to 5 is terrible. Like that. That's why I was late today. Because my 9 to 5.
Yeah. No, it's true. So what would be like your biggest piece of advice like throughout your whole like personal life and creative journey for someone, say they're like starting today, or like you're giving advice to your younger self getting ready to get started, like what is like the golden nugget that you would like share with them of advice?
I think kind of just cutting yourself some slack, like all the, like just try your best, but like if you don't succeed, like just cut yourself some slack.
Yeah.
Like there's always going to be another art competition. There's always going to be another thing. I remember growing up, I entered in every reflections contest ever, like those art competitions they do across the state.
Yeah.
Or states, and I never won, and I entered into all of them. But I think kind of just doing your own thing and understand that not everyone will agree with like what you put out into the world, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really matter what everyone like. It does matter because there's the ones who's gonna buy,
Yeah.
who are gonna buy your things. But like also like as long as you're true to yourself, then it's like good art.
I agree. I think that's super profound. I know, like, for me at least, like, sometimes I get down because I'm like, I do genuinely believe in the mission of the podcast of like creating a platform to get other people's names out there and like help people get discovered and like find success in like their disciplines. And I'm like, I only can pump out content for 6 weeks before getting burnt out. And it's like something that I've been thinking about recently is like, you always can do more. Don't like beat yourself up about it. Like what you're doing is great. And like,
Oh, yeah,
I think that's true for like any creative. Like you always can talk yourself into, oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. I should be doing more. But like, it should be like a joy and like a good, like wholesome outlet for you. And like to just like view it that way and just appreciate it for what it is and like what you have done. Obviously, like set goals, push yourself, but like don't trip over like not doing enough because like doing something is doing something.
Oh, absolutely. I think like not being afraid of even discomfort that might come from that, or discomfort in general. Just being a creative, I feel like it can be kind of daunting to. It's probably daunting to like hit up people and say, "Hey, come over." Like, I'm sure that's kind of like can be scary sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think like embracing it like really opens the doors to some really cool like irreplaceable experiences.
No, it's true. Believe it or not, we're starting to near the end of the podcast. Something that I like to do at the end of each episode is I give the person being interviewed the freedom to kind of choose how we end the episode. So that can be something like that you came today wanting to share and didn't, something that like came to mind earlier and you didn't share, or like nothing at all. I'll just kind of give you that freedom to like choose how you want to end the podcast today.
Okay. Yeah, I guess like like being creative is definitely a pretty detrimental like part of my life, you know, and I think it's a big deal. And I really appreciate being able to talk about it with you. Has been super cool. I'm super down for that. Like what a cool little thing you got going on.
Yeah,
You know?
thank
kind
you.
of just like facilitating like a cool conversation. Like where else could you have a conversation like this?
And like where else would we ever have met each other?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
So many cool people met, conversations had that I'm just super grateful for. So.
No, yeah. And I think there's like a lot of factors that go into that, you know, even like social media, just the accessibility that can come from that, meeting other creatives and stuff is definitely not something to undervalue.
Downplay.
Yeah, downplay. But yeah, I guess what's kind of, if I may ask a question.
No, go for it. Yeah, please.
What's kind of your why do you keep doing it? Like why do you want to keep doing stuff like this? Like why do you create?
Honestly, like what I love is passionate people doing things that they're passionate about. That feeds me. That feeds my passion for stuff. And I honestly think that's one of the reasons I'm so drawn to video in general is I'm not typically outside of the podcast, I'm not filming myself. I'm, making videos of other people that are important to my life that are doing cool things. But the podcast specifically, first of all, I think documenting is super important. Like things going on in life. Like this is a YouTube video that'll be up forever. Like it'll never be taken down. Like this exact point in time will be documented. Our conversation, our interactions, where I'm at in life, my views on stuff. Like I think it's a really powerful thing. Wow, I have so many thoughts on this question. I'm not used to people asking me questions. But I'd say, yeah, if I could like boil it down to why I do this, I love creation. I love people who are passionate about stuff. And I love talking about creative conversations, creative things that people are passionate about. And I learn a ton too. Like I had an author on the other week. I've never talked to like a local artist, illustrator person, like just to kind of like understand their world and like their perspective on stuff, I think is really eye-opening. Hopefully that answers your question.
No, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, like, kind of gets me like thinking a little bit, but like, I don't know, like how religious, like,
yeah,
you want the pot, you can totally cut
no,
it.
go
like,
for it.
But like, I really feel like when you think of God and like God being the creator, when we talk about us being children of God, like we by default are creators as well, you know. And I feel like when we do create, we are kind of fulfilling a godliness that's
100%.
like in us. And you think about how even the creation of the world and like in the Bible, how it says like things were organized from nothing. You like have a thought, and like what comprises a thought is just neurons firing. Like, that's like nothing being organized into something. Like just this unorganized raw things just being thought, you know? You take paint, you take paper, you organize these things to a painting. Like you're kind of like fulfilling godliness, which is really cool. And you're taking like raw things captured by, maybe I need to study how video works, but like you're just taking these things and like organizing it into something palpable, touchable, and that you can share with people. I think that's like the most beautiful thing about being creative.
100%.
It's like fulfilling your kind of, I don't know. I feel like I'm fulfilling my purpose.
No, I totally agree. And that's something that I've shared on previous episodes is like us being children of God, like the master creator. Like I view life, and I've said this before, is just like a playground for creation. And like obviously there's the arts and like creators that kind of do more like painting and this creative thinking and video and all this different stuff. But I view someone doing construction as a creator. Like they're taking an idea and they're making it palpable, like you said. And I think honestly, anyone that is making anything is a creative in that sense. So I think the word creative is a very inclusive word, although we kind of niched on a little bit just for the sake of the podcast. But like in all honesty, everyone is creating in some way,
Dude,
shape, or form
absolutely.
every single day of their life.
Absolutely. When you're like in motion, I feel like you're kind of, because the universe is constantly moving. And like when you're in motion as well, you're kind of grounding yourself to like the entirety of creation.
That's super deep. That's
I mean,
awesome.
it is. But,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I think like even people that aren't religious, when they're in kind of that flow state of creating, that's when they feel closest to deity, or like that kind of divine feeling of like, because they're fulfilling that divine call that we all have of just being children of God. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
you killed that.
No, you did.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you so much, Soupsox. I appreciate you coming on the
Of course.
podcast today. Honestly, wish you the best of luck in continuing your creative journey. And I hope you know that you have, people now hearing your story, supporting you. And if there's ever anything I can do, please reach out.
Thanks. Yeah, likewise.
Awesome. One there.